I'm a stupid piece of shit with a 1-inch flaccid dick, which are the only two qualifications required to talk about stuff on the internet, and I'm a useless fucking drunk that's out of my gourd. Welcome to my delusional nightmare. I am the Scr00bl0rd.
Serious Sam 2 is seen by the fanbase as the black sheep of the series, which I've never understood. There's a lot of improvements to the Serious Sam formula that I think elevated above first and second encounter, along with the most dynamic level design of any game in the series. After I played it for the first time back in 2008, I found it hard to go back to older Serious Sam games. Not that I think those games are bad by any stretch, but there's just so many little changes to the tone and gameplay that make the first and second encounter feel dated when compared to Serious Sam 2. This point has been made by fans of the series, and the game did very well critically, so why is it that this game isn't talked about nearly as much as other Serious Sam games? In my opinion, it might have something to do with just how out there this game can be. Serious Sam First and Second Encounter are comedic in tone with its referential humor and slightly goofy atmosphere, but they feel grounded in reality when it comes to the environments. The first encounter especially, with its desert environments, you might be fighting horse skeletons, headless kamikaze enemies, robot dinosaurs, etc., but most of the places you visit look like places you could actually walk around in somewhere on planet Earth. With Serious Sam 2, that isn't the case. There's mystical planets with blue midgets, a tree village, a good old-fashioned lava level, a fairy tale world where all the guys have Elvis hair, a futuristic city, just to name a few. While I love the variation in level design, it's definitely a departure from what we had in previous games. I suppose I can see some fans of the older games finding this change off-putting if they also happen to be boring humdrum pricks who find everlasting joy in their static life of middle management at Best Buy. Starting with the mechanical changes, there's been some changes to the weapons. By changes, I mean they took the weapon roster from first and second encounter, trimmed it down to the best weapons, reskinned, and added a few new weapons like the plasma gun and the Klodovik. They replaced the coach gun with the double-barreled shotgun and replaced the Thompson submachine gun with dual-wielded Uzis. The double-barreled shotgun seems like it does slightly more damage and has more spread than the coach gun did. I like the way it feels in a kinetic sense more than the coach gun did, and it's the same for the Uzis. There's something that's so much more satisfying about dual-wielding submachine guns when plowing through a large group of lower-level enemies. Even after you get the minigun, it's still a blast to switch back to the Uzis when you're dealing with certain enemy types. The plasma gun is also a blast, no pun intended, and it's a great weapon to switch to when you need to quickly disperse of harder enemies at a distance and you don't have any sniper ammo. The long and short of it is that the weapons roster is tighter and more focused than the first and second encounter. The level design here is quite solid for this type of game. It's a nice combination of both wide open arenas and tight corridor-like areas that require more focus and projectile dodging. Creativity on display here is awe-inspiring, even if the corridor stuff I just mentioned doesn't feel like a corridor in the sense that you might think of when it comes to first-person shooters. The first instance that comes to mind is in the level that takes place in the Land of the Giant, when you're inside a giant log fighting off flying witches and demons that fire rockets. There's holes in the log that the witches use to fly in and out of, so you have to balance all the shit coming at you while focusing on what witch is where. It's challenging, and I really liked it. The level before the Land of the Giants takes place in a tree village high off the ground where you ride on a platform and fight off enemies while avoiding damage. Every level offers up something new, and it's one of those games with that quality where you keep playing just to see what the next level looks like. Serious Sam 2 also holds up graphically better than a lot of games from the good old days of the 2005. It goes for a cartoon-like art style that's polished with some really nice touches. Character models and animations do seem a little dated in some spots, but that's to be expected for a 15-year-old game. There's a level that takes place inside of a kung fu palace, and the floor is so polished that it's reflective. It's almost mesmerizing to look at, and while it's not my first rodeo with Serious Sam 2, I'm always surprised at how well the visuals hold up. The sound design here is so much fun. Each chapter has its own background and combat music, all of which are well composed and fit the theme of the area perfectly. Not only is the soundtrack amazing, but there's all these little touches that I love, and I really wish other Serious Sam games had. For instance, every time you pick up a power-up, there's a sound effect of someone singing the name of the power-up. Also, there's a live system, and every time you hit another 10,000 on the score meter, you gain an extra life. When that happens, a high-pitched voice goes, "Extra life!" And I love every inch of that. After I played Serious Sam 2 for the first time, I found myself really missing that particular sound effect when playing older Serious Sam games. The live system is an interesting addition, but I don't mind it. It's obvious the Crow Team put that in the game for when it made its way to console, but I enjoy having it for the PC version as well. Reason being is that it's essentially like an autosave, so on PC I have the option to quick save, hard save, and load from an autosave by using a life. The reason this comes in handy is it gives you an option when it's been a long time since you hard saved and you quick saved in a bad spot with little health or had something coming at you that you couldn't see. I did this a few times, and using one of the lives I had saved up set me back to the closest checkpoint with 100 health and armor. That mechanic saved me a lot of of time, and it supports my theory that the more options a game gives you to save, the better it is. That time-tested Serious Sam formula of dealing with the ridiculous amounts of shit that the developers throw at you is held up here without a doubt. Especially towards the end of the game, there's just so many enemies coming at you at once, it causes a double vision. Particularly in the last level, they just stack you up against all the hardest enemies in droves. It's crazy. The game keeps track of how long it takes for you to complete a level, and they have an estimated time that you get points for coming in under. The estimated time for the last level is an hour. An hour. Keep in mind that you will more often than not go past the time on your first playthrough, which gives you an idea of how insane that last level can be. It isn't just the last level either, the game is constantly throwing hordes at you. The last 2 or 3 chapters, though, it becomes completely out of control. I don't mean that in a bad way, because that's exactly what I came here for, but for Takei's sake, let me breathe, guys. The length of the campaign is pretty surprising too. My latest playthrough took me about 15 hours, and in total over the last month I put in 49 hours according to Steam. I'd say about 10 hours of that was added by me stepping away from the computer to heat up a burrito or cut more limes for my tequila shots. Still though, that means I got a solid 39 or 40 hours of entertainment just in the last month out of $2 because I bought it when it was on sale. As I said earlier, this is a game that I could just sit and play all day, and I did so multiple days over this last month. There have been some changes to the enemy design as well, my favorite being that the kamikaze guys, instead of being headless with 2 bombs on their arm, they have a giant, goofy-looking cartoon bomb head attached to a body with overalls and shit. It just cracks me up. And the enemies that they've brought over from older Serious Sam games do kind of get a goofier makeover, and I think that it adds a really nice aesthetic touch. You know what? I spent a lot of time during the playthrough I recorded wondering why this game isn't held up and praised as the best game in the series. It really is the complete Serious Sam package. It's fast-paced, absolutely insane. There's tons of weapons, tons of enemy types. There's gameplay additions that help to add variety, like the vehicle sections, the turret sections. It's genuinely funny beyond basic referential humor. It has life and spunk, and I could just sit and play it all day. I love it. This is what we look for in games like this, right? Uniqueness and creativity backing a fantastic first-person shooter should always be the end goal, and Serious Sam 2 is a solid example of that, so why have people forsaken it? I'm not quite sure I'll ever understand, and I'll probably spend the rest of my life alone inside my Serious Sam 2 as the best Serious Sam clubhouse, sustaining myself off fourth wall break humor and incense sticks based off the smell of my own farts. I'm okay with that though, because I truly feel that this is a gem of a game that deserves to be remembered and praised. It's not perfect, but it's damn good, and you really feel all the love the Crow team put into this after making enough money to put together a big budget for a game. Long story short, Serious Sam 2 is available for $10 on Steam, less than $5 if it's on sale. It's a great time with a great game that has great personality, a great length, and a great campaign. There's definitely worse ways to spend time while stranded at home due to the COVID, and if you're in the mood for something fast-paced and humorous to help you take your mind off the world burning around you, this is a great way to go.
Later, Nick!